Brother teacher here. Should people have to take a class on how to deal with the police just in case they're pulled over or stopped by them to avoid bodily harm or risk, or even possibly being killed, as have many black Americans have been in the past several years? Unwarranted in most instances, and I do mean the vast majority of those instances. I don't think so. Let me tell you this, and I want you to use your common sense. Everyone watching me, irrespective of race, color, or creed, this makes sense to us all, or it should. And that's simply this. If the moniker of our nation's police departments is and always has been to protect and serve, and all about the community, are we not all a part of that community, to include the police? I mean, they're human beings too. EMT workers, firemen, postal workers, sanitation workers, and police officers are all part of the fabric of our communities. They just have specific jobs. And most of us are considered, for the most part, just common laborers or workers who get up and go to work every single day. But should we get up and travel the roadways only to be harassed or pulled over because someone is profiling us? Notwithstanding, blacks, but anyone for that matter. No, we shouldn't. Should we feel a certain way when we're driving down the roadways and a police car sitting in one lane pulls over behind us and follows us, or seemingly follows us, for several miles, and then oftentimes pulling us over, trying to see if they can find you breaking some sort of law, scrutinizing your vehicle, profiling the individuals inside the vehicle, maybe even running your tags, because they do that arbitrarily. Did you know that? Should that be lawful for a police officer just to randomly pick people out of the traffic and run their tags because their vehicle looks a certain way, or it's a certain type of vehicle, it's an old school vehicle, or that it has 3 or 4 black teenagers in it, or what have you? Should that ever be allowed? Or you have a little tint on your window, or you're laughing and talking with one another in the car. When did police stop policing real causes and real cases? When did it ever come down to, oh, let me put something in my quota book for today? Because they do have quotas. It's a fact. I challenge any police officer, and I'm very vehement about this when I say this. I challenge any police officer in any state, in any city, to chime into this video and say that you don't have a quota, that you're not supposed to write so many tickets per month, or it could affect your promotion, or it could affect your job. You could be walking the beat as opposed to driving around in your cruiser, or you could be on desk duty, or it could be a longer period of time before you get that next promotion to corporal or sergeant or what have you. I challenge you. Tell me that you don't have a quota. You all do. Now, if you're honest, if you're transparent with the society that you say that you serve, then you'll step up and say, yes, we do have a quota. End of that conversation right there. Now, if there is a quota, then there is a need to pull over so many people on the street to make sure that you meet the quota. What's the purpose of the quota? To make money for the municipality in which you work. Because it thrives on what? The money that they extract from the people. How do you extract the money? You write citations. Oh, he went over the yellow line just a wee bit. He drove 2 or 3 miles over the speed limit. Oh, he has a broken tail light. Oh, he has some things hanging out of his trunk of his vehicle. Just anything to try to secure some more revenue for the city. So, my question to you again is this. As I originally began, should we have some sort of classes, we the people, should we have a class on how to interact with the police in the event that they pulled us over or stopped us walking down the street? How we should respond to them? Should we take a deep breath and have our conversation, as minimal as possible, or should we use our freedom of speech. Let's say the Miranda rights, for example. They want to give that to you, and a lot of times they don't even give you or cite your Miranda rights. But you don't have to speak. But sometimes police officers get irritated when you don't talk to them. But you are exercising your right. You don't have to wait to exercise the non-speaking right just because they didn't give it to you. You already have the right not to speak. Did you know that? Fifth Amendment? I plead the fifth. I don't have to tell you anything. If you found me committing a crime, arrest me. Give me a citation. And let's keep it moving. And then I'll deal with the rest of it, however inconvenient that might be for me or you. I'll deal with it in court. I'll get me a lawyer or I'll represent myself. But, ladies and gentlemen, if you're confronted with the police, let's be honest. If you're a black American and you're confronted with the police, comply within the law. Not the law that they created, but comply within the law, the universal law. Be polite, be kind, be courteous, but remember what your rights are. Understand what your rights are. Overstand what your rights are. A police officer has no right to search you or your property, to include your vehicle or your home, unless you give them explicit rights to do that. Now, I've heard here recently under the Obama regime, if you will, or administration, that he signed something into law that said that any police officer doesn't have to give you any reason to search you anymore. They can arrest you and throw you in jail. I did hear this within the past year. Okay, but still, don't forget what I said. Be courteous. No sudden movements if you're black. Don't try to run, for example. Don't use a lot of expletives. Don't curse the police out. Don't spit on them. Don't try to put your hands on them. Be still. Breathe calmly. Look them straight in the eye. And you ask them, what crime have you committed, if any? And you continue to ask that question if they have not answered you. That's what you do. And if they ask you questions continually and will not listen to you, you say, I would like to speak to a lawyer or my lawyer. We'll see where that goes. Sometimes they'll leave you alone depending on what the situation is. But if you have done nothing and you just fit a description, but you really don't fit this description, but they're telling you this, that you're part of an investigation, and say, well, have I done anything wrong? Have I broken any law? Am I free to go? Hopefully, if you are insistent in doing this, and hopefully you will have a good police officer who has some sort of dignity about themselves, they'll let you go. And you just chalk it up to experience. Now, I just spoke about blacks in general. But anyone else outside of blacks, usually you have a go card. Usually if you're white, you have a go card. Now if you're poor white, you can find yourself really in the same situation as the black guy. That's usually how they classify us, blacks and poor whites. Now, to everyone across the board, we live in America. This is a common law land. It has always been common law. But the rules have changed by the powers that be. The executors, the ones who really run the country, who run the world. They changed the laws along the way. But they never made us privy to those changes. And they have given us a semblance of what is right, a semblance of what is lawful, but they're still hiding a lot of things from us. So what we think is the law is really not the law. Go to court and bring up the Constitution. Many judges will tell you not to say it again or they will hold you in contempt. Oh, but we're supposed to be under the Constitution. We're supposed to be a democracy. Why don't judges admit into or submit or allow you to submit information that could defend you or find you not guilty in court? Why do they deny evidence that you try to present? They do it all the time. I won't admit that into evidence, or not admit, excuse me, submit that or allow you to do that into evidence. They won't do it. You know why? They want you to be prosecuted. I'm going off a little bit on another tangent, but later on you'll hear me be a little bit more expansive on this subject. You see, the judge and the prosecutor actually work together. I don't care if there's a lawyer watching or a judge watching. It's the truth anyway. All you have to do is research it yourself. Judges and prosecutors receive a monetary benefit for prosecuting a person. They receive a monetary benefit for prosecuting a person. For the state, they don't want you to walk. If you don't get jail time, you're going to pay some money out your pocket. If you don't pay some money out your pocket, you are going to get some jail time. And when you go to jail, guess what you've done? You become a ward of the state, and you can give them now free labor. Okay, think about this. But again, getting back to my original question, should we receive some sort of instruction manual or some class on how to deal with a police officer in interacting if we were to be stopped or pulled over in our vehicle by a police officer, to avoid being harmed by them and even killed? I can go through a list of cases that have happened in the past 2 to 3 years where police officers have not only killed blacks but whites too. Daniel Schaefer, just recent months, he was a white man begging for his life, but he was shot and killed by a police officer. And guess what? That cop walked. He was found not guilty. Okay, this is Brother Teacher. I've ranted on enough about this. Let me know what you think. Do we need some instructions? So if our teenage sons and our teenage daughters and grandchildren were to be out in the street and, you know, a police officer walks up and say, "Hey, you, come here," what's the first thing going to happen? Especially if you're black. Heart's going to be palpitating real fast, real fast heartbeat. And you're going to be hyperventilating probably, because we've seen all of the stories of police officers beating up on black folks, throwing them to the ground, cursing at them, and even killing them. So how should we respond to that, or that likelihood of that occurring? How do we know that it won't happen? And this is not an indictment against police officers, ladies and gentlemen. These are just stating some facts. There are good police officers, don't get me wrong, but we have a significant amount of bad ones to make this video worth talking about and making. I'm Brother Teacher. So long.